It depends. There's hundreds of videos on YouTube which will tell you about ferret care, their behaviour, but we're going to talk about health. See, 1 in 5 ferrets will develop cancer, and rates for tumours are as high as 63%. To vets, they're known as little cancer machines. You want to go down? Okay, go on. I'm going to talk just about 2 of the ferrets I've had in the past, Socks and Percy. Percy was a ferret polecat mix, and at the age of 7 years old, he was diagnosed with cancer. He had a couple of tumours and was given 6 months. We chose not to go down the road of chemotherapy because we had quite a few ferrets at home. Percy was incredibly sociable, and it would have meant having to separate him from his brothers. To do that would probably would have killed him a lot quicker. That 6 months became 5 years. In those 5 years, he wasn't in any pain. He was still being Percy. He'd slowed down a bit because of his age, but was still trying to chase around his brothers. Unfortunately, we then had to have him put to sleep like 9 months ago, and it was heartbreaking. He'd been with us for 12 years, and yeah. The other boy, Socks, when he was 6 years old, developed a couple of tumours. We took him to the vets. The vet said we'd just watch it for now. Unfortunately, within 3 months, we had to have him put to sleep. His cancer was incredibly aggressive. And I think because he'd lost another one of his brothers just shortly before, down to age, it crushed him. As with any animal, cancer treatments for ferrets are incredibly expensive. Even if you don't go down the route of chemotherapy, you've still got steroidal treatments and everything else to pay for. Regular checkups, blood tests, x-rays, ultrasounds, and it does start to add up. Thankfully, we can do that, not through insurance, because insurance is so high for ferrets. We kind of have a fund put away for veterinary treatments because we know we're going to have to. For us, having ferrets was a no-brainer. We started taking on rescues about 2 decades ago, and they're just right for us. But for other people, maybe not. And again, not down to behaviour or anything else, just purely down to health concerns. For us, when we bring home a kit full of energy and just a forever kitten, as we call them, you see how much energy they've got, and you think that they're never going to tire out. You'll go through the first weeks of they've got to be tired by now, and it never happens. Having a house with ferrets in it is it's joyful. It really is, and I'm tearful. So when you lose them and you've got an empty house, it's the worst kind of feeling. It's like having toddlers around, and so when the house suddenly is quiet and you're not listening out for things crashing because they've decided that nothing belongs on a certain surface, it's horrendous. I had said that I wasn't going to have any more ferrets for a while after Percy was put to sleep. But after just a month of a silent house, it was starting to break me. So we had 2 new boys brought home, Scout and Quinn. And the one thing I've learned, if ferrets are right for you, if you can deal with that pain, that heartache, and the amount of joy that they'll bring you in the meantime, you just can't beat it. If you do choose to get ferrets, make sure you've done your research, like you would any pet, but know that ferrets suffer when they keep on being returned. the same as any animal does. People seem to view ferrets as being quite throwaway. They are not. No animal is throwaway. So if you choose to get one, really think about whether or not you might have to return that animal, because they will struggle. Ferrets are hard work, and you do need to train them, you do need to put work in. You can't just take them on and expect them to be nip trained, toilet trained and everything else. You actually do have to work. They're not throwaway. 2 of our ferrets, Andy and Socks, had been returned 4 times. And it took months for us to get them used to just leaving the house with us, because every time they thought we were leaving, they thought they were leaving, that they were going back. And they would just cling on to us. And it was heartbreaking. When we bring them back to the house, they'd just be so joyful. They'd be running around squeaking, and it took months to get them out of that cycle. Don't get them if you are not 100% sure that you can deal with them. Also, know that you might have to adapt your life around them. You don't get to choose their personalities. Like you don't get to choose the personality of a baby. You deal with what you've got. And what you'll find is the more you bond with that animal, the more you love them and you deal with their little quirks. I think the reason Socks and Andy were returned so much was because they had so many issues. And not just from being returned so much, unfortunately. They were not well looked after in the beginning. Andy would get very aggressive over his food, and would almost scream if people came near it. Because when we first brought them on, they were both very thin, very neglected. Socks. The problem with Socks is that he was deaf, and so he wouldn't listen. He didn't know when to stop fighting because he couldn't hear the vocal cues that ferrets would usually give to each other. So it took a long time, but we managed to train him to respond to visual cues, and for Andy to realise that no one was going to take his food away from him. He would always have enough food. Although they took extra work, the bond I ended up with all of them, to be honest, has been unique and special in every case. So many ferrets are abandoned, just given up on. People will think, oh, they're really, really cute, and then they realise that they can be quite destructive. Even a well-trained ferret likes to dig and scratch, and if you don't try to give them something to get that out of their system, they'll dig and scratch in your house. Carpets, generally. Another health issue with ferrets would be insulinoma. One of our boys, Bandit, unfortunately he had that, and it caused a lot of muscle weakness in his back legs. And unfortunately it meant that he would just drag his back legs behind him. We tried to have him fit him with wheels. He hated them. So in the end what we did was I managed to cobble together and sew a pair of pants for him to protect his little man when he dragged himself along. But it didn't slow him down. He would still chase after everybody, and when we brought home Socks and Andy, and of course they had issues, Bandit kind of helped bond the two existing groups. See, because he had issues, Socks recognised that and would look after him. He'd bring him snacks, which is weird seeing a ferret share snacks. And he'd also drag blankets over him, which I've never seen. In all the ferrets we've had, I've never seen it before. Bandit was adorable, our childs mainly. Those two bonded really quickly, mainly because they were so similar in personality types. Bandit didn't care that he couldn't use his back legs. Everyone else would see him just dragging his legs along and just almost, they said they felt sorry for him, they pitied him, but you couldn't pity him because he just, if he was a human, he'd be the type of human who'd get mad at you for doing so. He just wanted you to play with him. You know, he'd roll over onto his back so that you could give him tummy rubs. He had lots of different tests and he hated it every single time. So in the end, once we knew what it was and he was on treatments, we stopped doing it because he just hated it so much. We tried to make his life easier, like I said, with making him little wheels that we had brought. We had to buy those from AliExpress. That was a fun experience. Months and months I took to build that, and he wasn't interested. He hated it. Ugh. I miss all of them. Every single one of them has had such a unique personality. And I miss all of them. So to answer the question at the beginning, do ferrets make good pets? I don't think I can refer to them as pets. I never refer to them as pets. They're always my boys. They're my, I know everyone hates the term, but they are my little fur babies. And they make your life very different. Because you can't do things that you would usually do, go on holiday and things like that. Oh, you can, but with lots and lots of planning. You know, our life's changed considerably. For example, when me and my husband want quality time, it means making sure the boys are tired out and have gone to bed. And then we'll go out for a walk in there together. That's our quality time. We'll spend a couple of hours in the woods or something, just, you know. Oh, I do something else. I bug hunt and things, so. Oh. Sorry, this ended up being quite depressing, and I wanted it to be quite happy. But it was never going to be happy with health problems with ferrets. And that should have been obvious. Ferrets, like any animal, can enrich your life in ways that you can't imagine. But they are a 24-hour job. They do sleep a lot. They sleep for about 18 hours a day. But when they're awake, they're awake. And you better make sure that you're awake too. Because if you try and sleep, they'll want you awake. My life's better for having them in them, and I'm sure that people out there who've got ferrets will probably say the same thing. But once again, I'm sick of people abandoning them. I know some people will have very valid reasons, be it health problems or sickness, death in some cases. But the amount of people who'll get rid of them over the most ridiculous reasons is just... yeah. And please remember, okay, that just because a ferret is not a dog or a cat, that doesn't mean that they don't need to see the vet as often as a dog or a cat. They'll probably need to see them more. So if after you've watched this you still want to get a ferret, I hope that you two have a wonderful life together. I really do. Because I know that... hold on. Come here, you. I can see what you're doing. It's worthwhile, but it's hard work. And like anything in life that's worth doing, it's going to be hard work. Right, dude? Yeah. Sorry for all the sniffing. I need to wipe my eyes. So from me and from... yeah, thanks, Scout. From me and Scout, I'll see you in the next video.